Beautiful day, Patriots. We are not talking blasphemy. We are talking about the story that they are giving us versus the Holy Bible. Okay? We're not talking blasphemy. We're talking about what they're saying, and we're talking, and it's going to say that what they're saying may not be true. Okay? Now, we're going to have to do a little history lesson. We're talking about etymology and how all this stuff connected. So we've got some good background on etymology, even though it might be backwards. We understand the concept, right? And what this is saying right here, it's one of the most unique monuments that remains from the olden times is an ancient stone. Okay? And it silently stares down on beholder. And it stood all this time. What, 500 years? Right? And then there was another fire it's talking about in 1184. Okay, oh, check this out. This is great. So there was a big old fire in 1184, and it survived that. And in 1539, this thing got demolished and just wiped to the ground and sold. Instead of the king keeping it for his, holiday weekends, he decided to destroy it. I mean, if you now are the owner of this out of spite, would you just throw it to the ground out of spite? And then let all the other peasants for years sell the rest that remained? Because that's how it went for hundreds of years. That's where all the missing pieces went. He only sold it the day of destruction, and that was it. We're just talking about how the story goes in here. And right here, so there was a fire. This stone lasted in 1500, demolished, and this still stays and stands there. And we can see this is a stone in the south wall of Mary's Chapel, because, I mean, this is a big place. These rooms had different. And in one of these little tiny places, this is way up there, they're saying, and it's Jesus and Maria. And it says right here, it just stares down there, and it's puzzled scholars for a century. That's what it says right here. It bears the two names Jesus and Maria, the Lombardic lettering. So it's talking about the I instead of the J because it's old. But they're saying it survived the 1184 fire and the 15. And the Holy Bible, the King James Version, was written in 1611. In 1611. And that was, 40, so 60, 70 years after the king took over. Okay. Different king. King's James. I'm trying to wonder what king. King James. So now, wrote the Bible in 1611. So we see evidence that Isis, that's a V. Isis, what? How would you pronounce that? Isus, and Maria. And that sounds Latin, didn't it? Been there for a long time, survived the fire, survived the destruction from the king, survived the looting of it for hundreds of years. Scholars were puzzled. And the question is often asked by visitors, why was it put there? What does it mean? So let's look at some etymology history now. I was in the late 1500th century in Old English. We use modern day English. Modern day English. In England, they use England English. I can't remember the word of it right now. But we use modern English. And in the late 15th century, so before the church was destroyed, 15th century is the 1400s, the J finally shows up in the way late. Okay, and some French dude, in the 16th century, just right about the time this gets destroyed, right about the time they make a J, he discovers that J is being used in places. Even though we see I here, he's saying the discovery, this is Wikipedia, is discovering that this French dude is starting to see, hey, I'm looking and seeing at things, and that I looks like a J sometimes. I say it says J, he says. We. And everybody says, we. But the J doesn't really happen anywhere else, like in print or, really start to be used commonly until the 17th century. And that is the century that the King James Version is. 1611 is referred to as the 17th century. This building is 1539, and that is considered the 16th century. Today is 2021, and this is considered the 21st century. So this Isus, is Vusis. I mean, it sounds way more Latin than anything else. Now, see, scholars will be able to correct me where I'm wrong and fill in the gaps for me and to show me that, no, this does make sense, but all this looting and look at this, just, it's beautiful. It's in the open, they say, and it gets weathered, and it's puzzled scholars, it's puzzled visitors. Everybody's like, that don't look right. But right here, we don't have to worry because the Reverend Lewis gives a plausible answer. Sure, we don't have to worry about talking about that. Today, having endured the weather and the storms and the violence of many generations, it still stands. Still stands. That's awesome. So, one of the very first cathedrals, one of the first churches in England, one of the first clocks, one of the first ways Jesus is spelt like this, all preserved beautifully. Well, not really beautifully because it's in ruins now. It's all in ruins now. It looks like that. That's what the pieces looked like. Yeah, it looks like that. Just like the drawing 200 years earlier. Nothing changed in those 200 years. Can we find that drawing? Yeah, it's right here. Just really compare these. The only thing different is I put a tree right there. A block printing of 1817, and this is, a photo of modern times. Say, turn of century 19, so 100 years later. And if we went there right now, I bet you anything, it looks exactly like this. Just like that's weird. It just, nothing happens. There's no weathering again. Well, I guess not. Yeah, maybe England doesn't get rain. Does it? I don't know what kind of weather you guys get over there. Maybe I'll put that in my letter and ask them. But there's our story of Jesus. Again, just another first for England on cathedrals. We've only got a few more pages left, and if we don't have anything too much, we will be finished. Oh, it looks like there's plenty coming up. Hey, that looks like my my logo. That's cute, right? This is all math. It's just math. It's just math. Do the math. That used to be funny. People used to love laughing at that and say, he says do the math. He says do the math. They're doing the math now, though.